Welcome to Voyage Daily Tech, the most important news personalized for you every day, supported by Voyage.com.
After listening to today's news, you'll know first UK police facial recognition tech has a 250 times higher false positive rate for black women, sparking a regulatory crisis. We'll explore how this massive algorithmic bias challenges UK surveillance policy and what it means for public trust in government AI systems. Second, deepfake doctors created by a misinformation as a services industry are flooding TikTok, exploiting legal loopholes to sell supplements. In this episode, we'll break down this business model and what it signals for platform liability and future public health crises. Third, Google's $20 billion Apple search deal is dead as a judge forces it to share click and query data with rivals after its antitrust loss. We'll analyse why this ruling is a turning point for search competition and how it could affect Google's ability to dominate the AI market. Fourth, an $800 billion valuation makes SpaceX one of the world's most valuable private firms, as Starlink's success fuels a potential massive IPO. So we'll discuss why Starlink is the key to this valuation and what a potential public offering means for the new space economy. Fifth, Meta acquires AI pendant startup Limitless, betting on wearable recorders to achieve its personal superintelligence vision. This discussion will reveal how this acqui-hire connects to the AI form factor war and what it means for Meta's Ray-Ban glasses. Black women are nearly 250 times more likely to be falsely identified by UK police facial recognition technology than white people. Let that sink in for a moment. We're talking about a 9.9% false positive rate for black women compared to just 0.04% for white subjects. Now, you might be asking, how is this even possible? So the thing is, it all boils down to the data these algorithms are trained on. Many of these facial recognition systems are built using data sets that overwhelmingly feature lighter-skinned male faces. This means the algorithm never gets enough practice identifying the unique facial features of, for example, darker-skinned women. This lack of diversity in the training data is a fundamental flaw that leads directly to these catastrophic error rates. It's a classic case of garbage in, garbage out, but with devastating real-world consequences. This bombshell revelation comes from testing by the National Physical Laboratory on the Police National Database, and the numbers are absolutely staggering. Asian individuals face a 4% false positive rate, while black men see 0.4%. But black women, they're getting hit with almost a 10% error rate when this technology scans their faces. What really brought this to a head was the next development. The UK's data protection watchdog, the ICO, is now demanding urgent clarity from the Home Office and considering enforcement actions that could include legally binding orders to shut down the technology entirely or slap massive fines on the government. Deputy Commissioner Emily Keeney didn't mince words, saying it's disappointing that the ICO wasn't told about this racial bias despite regular engagement with authorities. Now get this. This isn't just a simple oversight. It points to a massive breakdown in governance. The ICO is the UK's primary data protection watchdog. For them to be blindsided by a report with these kinds of civil liberties implications raises serious questions. Who in the Home Office and police forces knew about these bias numbers, and for how long were they sitting on them before the public found out? This lack of communication completely undermines the role of our data protection authority, and the timing, pure chaos. These findings dropped on the exact same day that Policing Minister Sarah Jones was publicly calling facial recognition technology the biggest breakthrough since DNA matching. Talk about terrible timing for the Home Office. That comparison to DNA is incredibly misleading, and the distinction is critical. When we place facial recognition's reliability alongside the gold standard of DNA, the contradiction becomes clear. DNA evidence has established legal protocols and extremely high accuracy rates. A 2022 University of Cambridge study, for instance, found that police use of live facial recognition failed to meet minimum ethical and legal standards. To put these two in the same category overstates the reliability of this new technology and glosses over its very real dangers. However, if you zoom out, you'll see another layer to this that's even more concerning. Despite knowing about these massive racial disparities, the government is still pushing forward with plans for a national expansion of facial recognition cameras. We're talking about placing these bias systems in shopping centres, stadiums, and transport hubs across the country. The technology is supposed to catch serious criminals by scanning faces and cross-referencing them against watch lists. Instead, it's creating a system where black women walking past a camera are falsely flagged as potential criminals at rates that would be laughable if they weren't so dangerous to civil liberties. The Home Office claims they're taking this seriously and have already procured a new algorithm. But the damage to public trust has already been done, and the ICO's next moves could fundamentally reshape how surveillance technology is deployed across Britain. And, while a new algorithm with no statistically significant biases sounds like a perfect fix, the devil is in the details. The Home Office has procured new systems from vendors like IDEMIA and Cognitech, and they are indeed being tested. But critical questions remain. What were the exact criteria for this procurement? And who provides the independent, long-term oversight to ensure this new system doesn't just develop new biases out in the real world? Without full transparency, it's hard to know if this is a genuine technical solution or just a public relations maneuver. The UK's deploy first, fix later approach is what sets it apart from the EU, which heavily restricts this tech, or US cities like San Francisco that have banned it outright. Speaking of AI failures, the problem isn't just biased algorithms in government hands. In the private sector, it's being deliberately weaponized. Picture this. A respected university professor is scrolling through social media when his colleague sends him a shocking message. There are 14 videos of him online recommending menopause supplements. The problem? He's a children's health specialist who never made those videos. Welcome to the terrifying new world of deepfake doctors. Believe it or not, this isn't the work of a lone prankster. This is a sign of a burgeoning industry. Some are calling misinformation as a service. Research from security firms like Kaspersky shows a thriving market on the darknet where you can commission deepfake videos. Prices can range from as little as $50 to as much as $20,000 per minute, depending on the quality. It's a professionalized on-demand economy for creating digital lies. Fact-checking organization Full Fact just exposed hundreds of AI-generated videos flooding TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube featuring real doctors whose faces and voices have been digitally hijacked to sell dubious health products. We're talking about respected medical professionals like Professor David Taylor Robinson from Liverpool University, who discovered his digital clone was peddling everything from probiotics to something called thermometer leg treatments for menopause. This raises a huge question. Isn't this illegal? This is where the situation takes a more complex turn. The law has a massive blind spot. If someone physically walked into a clinic pretending to be a doctor, they'd face criminal prosecution. In a place like Colorado, for example, it's a criminal offense with serious penalties, but the digital equivalent, the law is murky. Statutes were written for the physical world and haven't caught up to AI-generated impersonation, creating a legal grey area that scammers are exploiting. The method itself is particularly insidious. The scammers behind supplement company Wellness Nest are taking genuine footage from medical conferences and parliamentary hearings, then using AI to make these doctors say whatever they want. In one video, Taylor Robinson's deepfake was shown swearing and making misogynistic comments about menopause. The real doctor had never uttered those words. But the platform's response, well, that was a whole other problem. When Taylor Robinson complained to TikTok, it took 6 weeks to get the videos removed. TikTok's initial response was that some videos violated guidelines, but others were fine, even though they were all deepfakes of the same person. This whole incident reveals a huge flaw in how these platforms work. Their automated moderation systems are often trained to detect specific harmful claims, like this pill cures cancer, but they aren't as good at detecting the act of impersonation itself. The AI is looking for what times is being said, but it's missing the more important question of who times is saying it, or rather, who is being times impersonated asterisk. This allows impersonation to slip through the cracks as long as the script of the deepfake itself doesn't trigger a specific keyword violation. The targeting is surgical. These fake doctors are specifically going after women experiencing menopause, using trusted medical faces to push unproven supplements. Duncan Selby, former chief executive of Public Health England, found 8 deepfakes of himself online, calling one video an amazing imitation that was a complete fake from beginning to end. And this creates what researchers call an asymmetry of harm. For the scammer, the cost to create and deploy these deepfakes is minimal, but for the victims, the doctors being impersonated, the cost is enormous. It takes weeks of effort, emotional distress, and potential damage to a lifetime's worth of professional reputation just to get them taken down. It's an exhausting uphill battle. When confronted, Wellness Nest claimed the deepfake videos were 100% unaffiliated with their business and said they cannot control affiliates around the world. And this defense, it's a classic playbook called using affiliate marketing for plausible deniability. Here's how it works. The main company, Wellness Nest, doesn't make the fake ads themselves. Instead, they run a program where third-party marketers, these so-called affiliates, earn a commission for every sale they drive. This creates a buffer. The company can say, we didn't make that deepfake video, some independent affiliate did, while still collecting the profits. This exact model has been used for years, like in the acai berry supplement scams the Federal Trade Commission cracked down on. It's a way to profit from lies without getting your hands dirty. This isn't just identity theft, it's weaponized medical authority being used to exploit people's health concerns for profit. The era of deepfake medicine has officially arrived, and the consequences for public health could be devastating. While platforms like TikTok are struggling with the fallout from AI scams, the legal battles for tech's biggest players are reaching a boiling point. In fact, Google just got hit with a judicial sledgehammer that's about to crack open the most valuable data vault in tech history. Google is now banned from making any long-term deals, like their multi-billion-dollar arrangement with Apple. You know that sweet setup where Google pays Apple billions every year to be the default search engine on every iPhone, Mac, and iPad? Dead. Any future deals can only last 1 year maximum. That's Google's most powerful weapon for maintaining dominance, and it just got ripped away. The impact of this cannot be overstated. We're talking about a deal that was worth an estimated $18 to $20 billion a year just for Apple. This ruling turns that stable long-term partnership into an annual Super Bowl of bidding. But the real challenge for competitors like Microsoft or DuckDuckGo isn't just money. It's something Google has cultivated for decades. User inertia. People are so used to Google that even when given a choice, they often don't switch. So while this opens the door for bidding wars, breaking through that deeply ingrained user habit is still a massive hurdle. But that's not the whole picture. The real turning point is what the judge is forcing Google to do next: hand over their crown jewels. Google must now share raw search interaction data with competitors. This is the same data that Google has used to train its ranking systems and AI models, giving it an insurmountable edge over everyone else for decades. So what is this data exactly? The court is mandating that Google share what's known as click and query data. This is the information about what links you click on after a search and even how long you hover your mouse over a result. This is the absolute bread and butter of how Google understands what users find valuable. The idea is that giving competitors access to even a small fraction of this data could help them improve their own search results. However, it's important to note the ruling stops short of forcing Google to reveal its core ranking algorithms, protecting its most valuable secret source. And the judge didn't stop there. He specifically targeted Google's generative AI ambitions, making sure these restrictions cover any application, software, service, or product involving artificial intelligence or large language models. Google's AI dominance just hit a regulatory brick wall. After all, this is about future-proofing antitrust. The judge is trying to prevent Google from using its search monopoly to corner the next big thing, AI. This ruling could directly affect Google's ability to bundle its own AI, like Gemini, into Android or Chrome. The goal is to stop them from boxing out competitors like Perplexity or ChatGPT before they even have a chance to compete, ensuring a more level playing field for innovation. The oversight is brutal. A technical committee with access to Google's actual source code and algorithms will monitor compliance. These aren't just any experts either. They're required to be specialists in software engineering, information retrieval, artificial intelligence, and data security. And here's the kicker: none of them can have worked for Google or its competitors recently. This creates a novel form of regulation, algorithmic auditing by committee, which is a pioneering step. In fact, it mirrors a global trend. The European Union's AI Act, which just became effective, mandates similar oversight for high-risk AI, creating special officers to audit these systems. The biggest challenge, both here and in Europe, is finding truly neutral experts who are qualified but don't have a conflict of interest in the tight-knit world of AI. This all stems from Google's crushing defeat in August 2024, when the judge ruled the company violated the Sherman Act and held an illegal monopoly in search. Here's a fascinating detail, though. The judge actually rejected the government's most extreme proposal, which was to force Google to sell off its Chrome browser. The court reasoned that a drastic move like a breakup wasn't directly tied to the specific monopoly abuse in search, and that emerging AI technologies might disrupt Google's dominance naturally anyway. it shows a real reluctance to break up modern tech giants. Google's planning to appeal, but the damage is already done. The most powerful search engine in history just got legally dismantled, and the ripple effects are going to reshape the entire internet. From one tech giant facing a legal reckoning to another reaching for an astronomical valuation, SpaceX just dropped a number that's absolutely staggering. $800 billion. That's not a typo. Elon Musk's rocket company is now seeking the kind of money that puts it in rarefied air, officially surpassing OpenAI's recent $500 billion valuation and making it one of the most valuable private companies on the planet. So how on earth do they get to a number like that? Actually, the valuation isn't just about rockets anymore. It's overwhelmingly driven by Starlink, their satellite internet service. As of late 2025, Starlink has blown past 8.5 million subscribers worldwide, and some analysts project it could make up over 70% of SpaceX's entire revenue by 2030. We're seeing SpaceX valued at $800 billion, while at the same time, a traditional aerospace giant like Boeing's market cap is hovering around $150 billion. This shows the market is betting on SpaceX's explosive growth, not just its current earnings. If that was just the appetizer, the main course is just being served. SpaceX is telling investors they're seriously considering going public by the end of next year, which would be one of the biggest IPOs in history. The timing of this move is fascinating. While competitors like Jeff Bezos's Blue Origin are still trying to catch up, SpaceX has already built the world's largest network of satellites through Starlink and completely dominates the commercial space launch market with their reusable rocket technology. The strategic importance of reusable rockets has been a complete game changer. Historically, launching a kilogram into orbit cost around $10,000. SpaceX slashed that to about $2,500, undercutting competitors by more than half. They're not just asking for $800 billion because they can. They're asking because they've systematically crushed the competition and now control critical infrastructure that powers satellite internet across the globe. The situation presents a fascinating duality. On one side, Starlink is a consumer internet service, while on the other, it's becoming the financial engine for SpaceX's Mars ambitions, much like AWS for Amazon. Interestingly enough, Musk himself has been openly hostile about running public companies, recently stating that they draw spurious lawsuits and make it very difficult to operate effectively, yet he's now actively exploring an IPO route, and he's even floated the idea of giving Tesla shareholders a piece of SpaceX action. This is a highly unusual move that blurs the lines between two legally separate companies. Corporate law, going back to landmark cases like Dodge versus Ford, requires a company's leadership to act in the best interests of their own times, shareholders. Creating a special benefit for shareholders of a different company is highly unusual and would require navigating a minefield of governance and legal challenges. This all begs the question, what's driving Musk to consider going against his own instincts about public markets? One answer is control. To avoid the short-term pressures he dislikes, SpaceX could use a dual-class share structure, just like Google and Meta did. This would give him and other insiders special shares with more voting power, allowing them to maintain long-term vision even after going public. But the bigger answer lies in the sheer scale of what SpaceX is building. Between government contracts, Starlink's global expansion, and their Mars colonization ambitions, they need capital that even an $800 billion private valuation might not fully satisfy. And there's another layer to this valuation that we have to talk about: geopolitical power. A significant chunk of that $800 billion is a bet on SpaceX becoming a new kind of 21st century defense prime contractor. The company has secured over $22 billion in US government contracts in just the last few years, including a nearly $6 billion deal for national security launches and a $1.8 billion contract to build a network of spy satellites for the National Reconnaissance Office. This isn't just a commercial company anymore. It's a critical national security asset, giving it a geopolitical moat that competitors simply don't have. SpaceX isn't just raising money. They're positioning themselves to become the undisputed king of the new space economy. And at $800 billion, they're demanding the world take that ambition seriously. Speaking of astronomical ambition, Elon Musk isn't the only tech billionaire making huge bets on the future of hardware. Over at Meta, they just made a quiet move that signals a massive new push. The tech giant scooped up Limitless, a startup that makes AI-powered pendants you wear around your neck that literally listen to everything you say and turn your conversations into smart summaries. A while back, we talked about how AI pendants were crossing from quirky gadget to emotional companion. and how even the marketing was sparking backlash. So this isn't coming out of nowhere. The story begins with a decision that caught everyone by surprise because it seems to directly address the spectacular failures of other AI wearables. Remember the Humane AI pin? It was a disaster. The reviews were scathing, citing terrible performance and a high price tag. Limitless, on the other hand, isn't trying to be your everything device. It does one thing well. It records and summarizes. It's simpler, cheaper, and has a 100-hour battery life. Meta is essentially betting that the path to success is by starting with a clear, practical use case, not by trying to boil the ocean. Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg has been talking about bringing personal superintelligence to everyone, and apparently he thinks the key to that future is getting people to wear AI devices on their bodies. We previously analysed how platforms were shaping our digital reality. The latest development is that Meta wants to anchor that power in the physical world you move through. Think about that for a second. We're talking about a company that already knows everything about your online life, now wanting to know everything about your real-world conversations. That term, personal superintelligence, sounds like science fiction, but the roadmap is very real. It starts with what Limitless already does, accurately summarizing your meetings. The next step is building an AI that has context, one that understands the nuances of your conversations. The final leap is an AI that learns your personal preferences and behaviors to become a true digital assistant. But this ambition walks straight into a privacy minefield. A device that's always recording creates a massive ethical dilemma. In the US, recording laws are a patchwork. States like California require two-party consent, meaning everyone in a conversation has to agree to be recorded. But other states like New York only require one-party consent. The bigger, still unanswered question is who's liable when an AI friend gives harmful advice? How will Meta navigate this? It's a huge open question, and they have to get it right to avoid the kind of glasshole backlash that doomed early wearables like Google Glass. But Meta isn't walking into empty territory here. This is all part of the emerging form factor war, where each of these companies is making a different bet on what you're willing to wear. Amazon already grabbed an AI wearable called Bee back in July. Google's pushing Gemini through their Pixel phones. And there's a whole ecosystem of these conversation recording devices popping up with names like Friend and Claude, all designed to be your personal AI sidekick. Each of these companies is making a different bet on what you're willing to wear. Meta is betting on glasses and now pendants, which are more socially discreet and less in your face. The trade-off is that they have less room for powerful sensors and batteries. Amazon is looking at wristbands, which people are already used to wearing, but they offer limited ways to interact. Each choice, glasses, pendants, wristbands, is a strategic gamble on social acceptance versus technical capability. The timing couldn't be more telling. Meta's Ray-Ban smart glasses have been their surprise breakout hit, proving people will actually wear tech on their faces if it's useful enough. And remember, Meta even required in-person demos for its display glasses to manage expectations. After the Google Glass fiasco, clear evidence the company knows how fragile public trust is here. Now they're betting the next battleground is pendants, pins, and whatever else they can convince you to strap on. But the real strategy here might not be what it seems. This looks like a classic acqui-hire, where the main prize isn't the product, but the talented team and the underlying software. The real goal could be to take the brilliant audio summarization AI from Limitless and bake it directly into the next generation of their more successful hardware, the Ray-Ban glasses and Quest VR headsets. This fits the Trojan horse strategy we've discussed before. The hardware doesn't have to print money if it seeds a massive user base for Meta's AI platform and services. What's really wild is that Limitless CEO Dan Sirica basically admitted this isn't just about making cool gadgets. He said Meta's vision for personal superintelligence is exactly what his company was already building toward. Translation: they were heading to the same destination anyway, so why not join forces and get there faster? The financial terms are staying under wraps, but here's what we know for sure. Meta just signaled they believe the future of AI isn't just in your phone or on your computer. It's going to be hanging around your neck, listening to every word you say, and getting smarter by the minute. Ultimately, the technology is moving faster than our rules and social norms. The biggest challenge for Meta won't just be building the tech. It will be figuring out how to manage the consent of every single person who walks into a room with someone wearing one of these devices. That's a question they have yet to answer.
That's it for today on Voyage Daily Tech. Follow, share, and stay tuned for daily updates coming your way tomorrow.